Okay. Hello everyone. How are we feeling our feelings? Today my attention went to the idea of emotions. And it's kind of like we as creatures have considered a physical destiny an objective destiny to our species. We have considered a subjective destiny. And I guess we must consider an emotional destiny. It's as if we are wondering, what do all the bodies in the world do? What is their purpose? And then we think about what is the purpose of not just the biological states, of all the biological states, but what is the purpose of the psychological states? So what will happen to all the biological states, and what will happen to all the psychological states? And what sort of imprint is our unique lives leaving behind on the world? Consciousness means a creature is no longer responsible for its existence, but can now be responsible for the world. I want to read for the viewers something I looked up. Human beings, I'm reading this from online, human beings have a complex nervous system that enables them to experience emotions and feelings. The process of feeling emotions involves a series of physiological and psychological responses that occur in the body and brain. When we experience something that triggers an emotional response, such as fear, happiness, or sadness, our brain sends signals to the autonomic nervous system, which controls many of the body's involuntary functions. These signals can cause changes in heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, and other bodily sensations that we associate with emotional experience. At the same time, the brain's limbic system, which includes structures like the amygdala and hippocampus, processes and interprets the emotional information and generates a subjective experience of the emotion. This is what we refer to as feeling the emotion. It's important to note that emotions and feelings are not the same thing. Emotions are a physiological and psychological response to stimuli, while feelings are the conscious experience of those emotions. While we may not fully understand the mechanisms behind how emotions and feelings are generated, research suggests that they are essential for our survival and well-being. So what this means is, what I've read for the viewers is the contrast between emotion and feeling. Feeling has to do with our conscious experience of the emotion. Do you understand? But the emotion is just a physiological, psychological response. Sometimes a person may not be even conscious of the emotion they have. Do you know? I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I was super shy, and little did I know that this shyness was building something. Do you understand? The view is that human beings are energetic beings, and if they do not express themselves, they will feel less. They will feel reduced. You believe it or not, that's why we eat food. That's why we constantly are maintaining our, surviving position, our position of survival. So the idea is that you're not just energy to exist. You're not just energy to be aware of existence, but the awareness of existence can engage the existence, and that's the divinity. You see, there can be an argument made that the world is not divine. Why? Because it's the first thing there. There is no reference. That means divinity, as if there needs to be something we consider, and then there is the divine, right? As a contrasting position. So we experience stimuli. The stimuli send signals. Our brain receives the signals, the stimuli. And then we respond. I have been wondering, why is it one day I feel like, as if I want to go and be active in the world, and why is it that one day I feel like inactive? I feel like, Anyways, so the point I'm trying to make here is that emotion what I've read here is that emotion, psychological, physiological states lead to that. It's an event of the brain, but our conscious experience of our emotion, which is what we call feeling, that seems to be where the mystery is, because consciousness is a mystery. For me, it's very interesting, because the question, how are we feeling our feelings? If I had said, how are we feeling our emotions? That's the obvious one, right? But how are we feeling our feelings? That means, how do we know that we are feeling our emotion? Do you know? That means when somebody says, I am sad. Do you understand? It's kind of strange, because it's something that seems to have come. Not something that has been there from before. Once we understand that our brain is a designer, and it uses everything. Do you understand? It's like when they give a problem to the human mind, the mind is like, okay, what do I have at my disposal? What's funny? We even have sub-memories. This is a term, I don't know how else to call it. Maybe there's an accurate term for it. But what it is that, imagine yesterday I was visualizing what I was going to do today, right? So it didn't happen, but the visualization happened. So we can have inner memories of the outer realms, even though we don't do anything in the outer realms. What that means is we don't remember our physical journey throughout the day. We also remember our non-physical journey. You have an awareness of your inner life. Okay, everybody has an inner life. They hide it. They hide it magnificently. And that's a skill our species have, there was a time where I wondered why. Why did, I was raised in a theocratical society. I was born in Iran. And in Iran, religion, in the West, church and state have separated, but mosque and state have not separated in Iran. And so the idea is that religious ideology is ingrained in the political structure, so you have to understand religion to understand the politics. Right? So when they connect religion and politics together, everybody has to understand religion to understand the politics. Think of it that way. So when I was younger, this question arose to me, that everybody is considering that the archetype of the Creator, of God, Almighty, all forgiving, all benevolent, and then I thought, why couldn't God forgive Adam and Eve? Do you understand? It was as if one mistake couldn't be forgiven, and so then all the mistakes were forgiven after that, once through a connection. And so my mind began wondering that why would somebody, let's say, imagine you had a genius inventor. I mean, of course, I don't want to humanize God. The idea of God is not human. It's beyond human. That's why we are fascinated by it. But what I want to say is this idea that if we were to give it some sort of humanized metaphor, it would be as if there's an inventor, and imagine this inventor has a bunch of apprentices. Instead of apprentices, imagine instead of angels, it's apprentices. Instead of the inventor being God, I'm saying let's fathom an inventor. So this inventor builds an android and brings it to his team and says, hey everybody, I've built the greatest thing. Everybody bow down to my great creation. Everybody acknowledge it. And imagine all the other people are clapping in the room, all the other apprentices, except one apprentice. And one apprentice says, hey man, there's no way this invention, this robot is greater than me. Do you know? I'm a human being. It's like I'm an angel. This is a robot. How could this is a human? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to create parallels between the metaphors. So now imagine the inventor puts the android. An android is a robot that looks like human, by the way, if you don't know what it means. So an inventor puts the android in a room with glass windows so the android cannot see anything outside of its reality, just like our conscious minds. And so what's fascinating is that the apprentice, one of the apprentices, let's call it Lucy, has been sent into the room to try to deviate this android from its program. Right? And imagine now the son of the inventor, comes into the room and tells the android, yo, don't freak out, android. Have faith in your program. Have faith in your design. Have faith in the moment you have arrived. And so this is where the android has to choose what it is. Is the android going to accept its design? Is the android going to rebel against its design? Is the android going to say it's spiritual and think it's only its software? Or is the android going to think it's a materialist and only the hardware? Right? And could it be that the inventor has backed up the software somewhere where the hardware is not? What that means is it's kind of like, imagine human biological existence is the hardware, human psychological existence is the software. Imagine the software is on some other computer, on somewhere else. Do you understand? So even the hardware gets destroyed, the software doesn't. It feels to me that what evolution is doing is biological. It's like a biological advancement to the development of software. That means this world does not care about the hardware. It cares about the software. So do you know what that means? That means imagine there's an inventor, and this inventor builds 8 billion androids. It creates a modality for them to experience themselves alone, but it also has given them the right to realize that their software is not from the hardware. It's being used it's being accessed by the hardware. You know what I'm saying? But it's not, the software is not the hardware. The physical existence is not the psychological disposition of the human attention. So do you see what I'm saying? Now the question, it comes to, how can this android feel what it is? This is a very bizarre question, because I ask myself, if feelings were mine, I should not know that they exist. They should just be me. Do you understand? The feelings should already be there. But the fact that the feelings come and go, that means how can we identify with just an emotional entity? It comes and goes. Like, I don't know if human beings have fragmented psyches every time they experience a different emotion. Do you understand? Is it one being that experiencing different emotions? Is it each emotion rendering a new being? Questions are vast here. By the way, interesting announcement, everybody. I'm moving to Dubai to live there soon.